Hello to everyone watching this video, and in this tutorial we are going to make a platformer. So there are tons of platformers on Scratch, and the reason most people make those is just because they're really rewarding to make. They're pretty easy. So to start with, first we need our character. So I'm going to delete the Scratch Cat costumes, and I'll just make a little red square. If and remember that if we hold shift, we can make a perfect square. So here is our little square, and I'll rename him player. So now the next thing we need is our level. So wait, no, I don't want that. So now our level, I'll just make a little black or grayish level. So now you can make your whatever level you want. I'll just make one of the best testing levels. You can make, even you guys can make this, because this level is just like really good if you want to test. But all in all, the best level that you should have at the start of your game is the tutorial level. So now here's our little level. So now I'll rename this sprite level. So our level is not gonna have to do much for the whole game. So we'll go in our player, and we'll go in events and take a one flag clicked forever, a forever loop. And then we're going to make a block. Now this block will help with all of our lag issues that we'll get if we put all of our code in the forever loop. And we'll call it platform physics, and add an input, call it gravity, and another input, call it jump height. And click on this little box called run screen without refresh. And now we have our little block here. We'll put the platform physics in the forever loop, and we will set our gravity to -1 and jump height to 12. So now we have the definition of the block. In that, we are going to make a variable. I'm going to delete this, and I'll make a variable called y velocity. Make it for this sprite only because later we will be adding enemies in the game, and we don't want them to have the same y velocity variable. Now we will take a change y velocity, put gravity in here, and we will take a change y by y. We will take a change y by and put y velocity. So now this will be changing y velocity by gravity, which is -1, and then we will going to change y by -1 the whole time. But now we will set y velocity to 0. So now we can do this. I'll put a go to 0, 0. So we can have a nice reset point. You can see it has this nice motion where it gets faster while it falls down. But it's just phasing through the level because there's no code for it to interact with the level. So now we will take an if touching level. We'll take if touching level. And now in this if touching level, we will put a repeat loop, not a repeat until. We will take, and now we'll take, so first let's go over, wait, no, not this. Actually, it is a repeat until, sorry for that. And we are going to change this, but just so that you guys understand, I'm taking the repeat until. We will change this later. So now we can see this. Our cube is falling and it's interacting with the level. But then after some time it's like, no, I'm out of here. Because our y velocity, if you show it, it's continuously decreasing. And then this change y by 1 is not enough to push it up. So we will set y velocity to 0 after all of that's done. Now if we show it, 0. So now we can't jump. We need to be able to jump. So we will take an if else statement, set it after a repeat until. Well, I'll set it after the repeat until, and we'll put our set y velocity to 0 inside the else. And we'll take another set y velocity, and our jump height is 12. We'll put jump height in here. And we'll take an or statement, and then key up arrow pressed, or W, because a lot of people use WASD. So now we can jump. So that's our vertical movement. So now we will get to our horizontal movement. So now for our horizontal movement, we need another variable called x velocity, and we will edit our blocks. And also, there's one thing I forgot to tell you guys, that if we do this, if we take off the run screen without refresh, now we can see our little square. If we can see it going up, the run screen without refresh makes our variable run like it makes everything run in one frame. So now if we jump, you can see it going up, but the run screen without refresh, it does all that in one frame. So that's why we took a run screen without refresh so that we can't see it going up. So now we have our other variable, x velocity or horizontal movement, ready. But we have one more thing we need to address. Our change y by 1, actually, if we drag our square here, look what happens. We can see that it teleports to the top. We don't need that to happen. So now what we want to do is, and also I didn't tell you that if our if we put it somewhere inside the level, then it will actually lag out. It will lag really bad. So now to take that off, we will put a repeat loop, the other type of repeat loop, the repeat 10-1. And now we will go over ceiling and absolute value. So basically, the absolute value of a number is the positive version of it. So now -5, the absolute value of it is 5. Sorry for this bad handwriting. So -10 is 10. And same thing with every number. So we can use this to our advantage by taking an absolute value, we'll find it at the bottom, and then taking another one, and we'll set this to ceiling. So now basically ceiling, it rounds the number upwards. So then we will put it here, ceiling of absolute value of y velocity, and we'll put our change y by in here. We'll stop the code right now because it'll start lagging. So now we will take absolute value again, and we'll take a division operator, put it in here, put our absolute value on the left side, put y velocity in the absolute value, and y velocity on the other side. And here we will multiply it by touching level, put all of that in here, and all of this will be multiplied by -1. So now that will just give the opposite of it. So now what we will see, let's put all this code back, is now if we set our thing here, we're not lagging. We're not lagging a little bit. So that's why we did this just to avoid lag. But now if we actually put our right here and we make him jump, why is he not jumping? And wait, oh yeah. No, this actually won't work. Wait, why was lagging? We will set y velocity. We don't need this. We'll just take our or statement and trash all of this. We will set y velocity to jump height multiplied by this. So basically, if we do this, it will give out a false. And if I press the up arrow, it'll give out a true. But if we multiply it, if we put it in an operation, and it'll give a 0. So that's why we're doing this. So now we can jump again, and we're not lagging. But what happens is now he even clashes with the ceiling. But if we hold our up arrow, we just stuck on the ceiling. That's because when he's touching the ceiling, he's setting his y velocity to a jump height, and that's why it's going on like that. So we will take an if statement and all of this. We will cut all of that out and we'll just take in the if statement uh, key up arrow pressed, and now this code can actually be cleaned up a bit if key W and up arrow pressed. And we can put an and statement and set out duplicate this, take an equals, and we'll set it to -1 is equal to -1. And now when we do this, we'll set y velocity to jump height. And now if we set this here, let's see what happens. And we don't jump. Oh wait, yeah, that's the one problem. We don't have to put our touching level. It should jump. Yeah, now it's jumping. And also, there's an if else statement. So now we can put all of this back together. And we should have our Y movement about done. And if we make it jump, it's not colliding with the ceiling. So now we don't have this guy like he's not just like I'm gonna stick here. This is my home. He knows that that's the ceiling. So but now we can't make him move anywhere. We keep on having to drag him over here. So that's why we made the x velocity variable and we'll set it to 0 at the start. And we will set x velocity right at the bottom. And when I said that about this, it sets it that this will give out up arrow pressed or any reporter the up arrow pressed or any key W pressed that will give out as a number, a 1 for yes and a 1 and a 0 for no. So we can use this to our advantage by first editing the block that we have, and we'll add speed, and now actually not speed, friction, and that's all we need. So now we will set our friction to, this is a bit experimental because this is, well, I'll talk about that later. So first thing we will do for this is take a multiplied by a plus, and we will take key up arrow pressed or a key or actually that's D, key up arrow or D because I'm getting a bit confused with the right arrow and left arrow. So the same thing we will put it in the other side of the plus and put it on left arrow or A. And we'll take off these and take a multiplication operator. And we'll do 3 for the right and -3 for the left. So this is basically the speed at which we are which we are moving. So now that that's done, we can just take a plus again. Now this is a pretty long algorithm, and we'll take an x velocity, and we'll put this whole algorithm. It doesn't want to go. We'll put this whole algorithm in here. So now we can see actually we have to change our x velocity. Sorry, change our x by x velocity. So now you can see this thing sliding on ice, just sliding on ice. You can see all of that. We don't want it to go around sliding on ice. So all we need to do for that is take a multiplication, drop friction into here, and put our whole algorithm into here. So that's why we made friction. And wait, then it has to be right arrow. So now we have like a friction, we have a momentum based movement, but now it's not colliding with walls, it's only colliding with the floor. So if we do this, that's weird. So now that's it's just as simple as our floor collision. We just drag this down, take our that if uh, our jumping script, we will take that off and we'll put an if touching level. Basically, it's just duplicated our whole floor collision, and we'll set this to x velocity, both of these variables to x velocity. And now, lastly, we will change y by, wait, no, not y, change x by all of this. So now what we have is a pretty good platformer script, but now we have a problem. Our character, it's not going up slopes because it's actually taking the slopes as like a ton of walls. It's taking them as stairs. And like if we zoom really close in, we can see basically it's made of pixels. So our character is taking up all of the slopes as walls. So we need to do is make a variable called slope, and we will set slope to 0, take an if touching level. Actually, let's not put this inside just at the moment. We'll take an if touching level, and we will change y by 1, and wait, we will take a repeat until and set it into here. Repeat until an or statement if is greater than 4, slope is greater than 4, or not touching level. So now we'll take our slope and put it in here. Change y by 1. Actually, this is -4. We'll change slope by -1. Smaller than -4. And then we will take an if touching level, another if touching level, and we will change y by slope. So change y by slope. And we'll set all of this here. So we'll stop this. Now this won't work. We need our another if touching level and set it here. Now this should work. Yeah, our character now goes up slopes but collides with walls. So that's about it for platformer physics. So now how we will add enemies. Wait, actually, let's see our x velocity. Yeah, our x velocity is not for this, right? Only that's okay. We will make another variable, making it all of it small because this will be for our enemies. So now that we have all of this done, we can actually, I'm going to make this square a bit taller because you'll know later why I'm making the square taller. So we have this pretty weird looking, this is just an awkward looking character. So now we will make our enemies. So actually I'm filling this black because this is black. So now our enemies will put it up here. Now in this video we will just set up for an enemy AI. And just other times we are going, the next video we are going to code the enemy AI. So now this is just a bit boring, just a little geometrical shape. Like it's always a geometrical shape for some reason. So let's actually do something different. Let's make a stickman. And some of you might be saying a stickman's again too up to it, but you guys can make what you want. So I'm just going to teach you the animation of a run cycle and just everything else. And you can just play all of that. So, and remember one thing, you totally don't need to have an outline for your head circle because that's actually really frustrating to have to fill the circle separately. So now you just to make an idle animation. So I'll make that real quick. Reshaping our stickman. So take your time in the animation. You see, the stickman should look good as possible. Now this looks pretty good. I'll make his head a bit bigger. So now here's our little stickman. Legs are connected. So here's our stickman. It's about the size. I'll just increase the size of our box. We need our stickman to be about the size of our hitbox. Like we now we can call that a hitbox. So now this looks weird, awkward. So I'll just set this platform a bit higher. So now what we will do is we'll first I'll need to zoom out and I will delete our hitbox and I'll set our stickman to the center. So now we have our little stickman, but actually we don't need to delete the hitbox. I'm copying the hitbox first and then I'm redoing everything. And now I'm making a new costume where I will put the hitbox in there. So I'll call this costume idle and this costume hitbox. So now at the start of our program, we are going to switch our costume to hitbox, and at the end we are going to switch our costume to our idle. So the reason we're doing this is because our hitbox, we need a hitbox, otherwise we'll be hanging at weird places. Like if we put our like this part of our head, which is like an overhang, it'll actually latch onto some platform, and then all the like player animations will be really hard to code. So a hitbox costume is very important. So now our next step is to make a run cycle. Well, not a run cycle yet. We'll make a jump. We'll make a jump. So a jump. Well, you everyone has their own idea of a jump. Well, this is what I see when I hear of a jump. Oh, put our head a bit down. And so that's our jump costume. So we will take an if. Actually, we need a full costume too. So I'm taking like he's catching all the air in his arms, and his head is a bit bobbing up. And this is good. So we will take an if statement and put y velocity is greater than 2. So if y velocity is greater than 2, we will switch our costume to jump. And let's not call it jump 2, let's call it fall. Switch costume to jump. So now this should set our costume to jump when we jump. So now we can duplicate this and set costume to fall and this make it smaller than 2. Y velocity is smaller than like -2, so it will switch its costume to fall. And this thing, this tool should be a bit. That's a bit better. So now if we jump, we, we have a little animation. But so now we can see this, what's going on here. On slopes, he's continuously falling. So that's why it's setting to smaller than 2, so I'm setting this to 4. Right now, not. So this is a bit experimental. The steepness of your slope determines it. So if you set it to 1, then I don't know, you probably want him to dance because he's just dancing down the slopes. Just like dancing down the hill. So now we have a nice animation, but he's just moonwalking. He's not even moving his legs. So I'm going to duplicate the idol costume. I'll call it 1. Make sure it's called 1. So now I am going. So now please watch how I'm making these run frames because this is just you can experiment with like how humans run in real life. You can experiment with that. So now here's our first run costume. I'll set our head up. Duplicates. It will be automatically named 2. So our second one is where his hands they move a bit closer to his body and the angle becomes a bit more obtuse. And the legs, um, we this will be now this is the second frame. Our second frame is done. And I'll just make this a little bit smaller. Our second frame is done. So remember to do from the previous frame, duplicate from the previous frame just to make it easier. So this hand was completely behind and this hand's, all this hand's coming from the back. This hand's coming from this. And this is our, so you can just experiment to see what makes your costume look good. So now these are 3 frames. So now we to make him animate. Animation's a pretty complex way. So we'll take a 1 flag click forever loop, and I made a variable called walk. We will set walk to 1, and we will in the forever loop we will forever change walk by 1, and wait whatever wait you want in your frames. I'm doing 0.2 seconds. If walk, we'll take an if. How much frames do we have? We have 3 frames. If walk is greater than 3, we will set walk to 1 again. So now the walk variable is basically stuck in a loop that if it's greater than 3, it'll set back to 1. So it's setting to 1 continuously. So now we'll take an if statement. If we'll take an or, we'll take D and right arrow. We will point in direction 90 and switch costume to walk. Switch costume to the walk variable. We'll duplicate this and make it left arrow and A. So We'll point in negative 90 and again switch costume to walk. So now, well, something's going wrong. We need to point in direction 90 at the start. And so I'll click point in direction 90 and we will set the rotation style to left right. Well, not right now. We will set it to don't rotate. And after we switch our costume, we'll set it to left right. So now it's switching to his fall costume. Our jump is a bit confusing. So no, your best bets go when you set your costumes to your run costume should be at the top because that makes it a bit easier for Scratch to understand. So now it's pretty good. So let's check its costumes. It's not switching to one. So now we can check its costumes by going here. So now this looks pretty good. Now you can experiment with different walk cycles. So I'm pretty happy with this. So that's it for this tutorial. In the next tutorial, we will be adding our enemies, which in fact will just be these little boxes because I'm not gonna make another player walk animation. So see you in the next tutorial.